Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be Alice 2022, starring Keke Palmer. Let's get into it. So subscribe to the channel, like the video. Before we get into this review, give you about a couple seconds to do that. As always, that's enough. So I don't really care for slave movies. I really don't. Slave movies are terrible to me. It seems like they get the green light because it's as if somebody wants to constantly remind people on where they come from. It's never really to show the greatness where how people evolve. It's always to do a self-reflection. So I don't care to watch them because it's really never nothing positive. But what struck me is this seemed like there was going to be some get back in this particular movie. And it was to a degree. And I guess they could only let but so much get into the movie. So I can't really think that it was going to be some all out Wild Wild West type situation. So nevertheless, there was a video I came across on YouTube, or it was a clip, one of them shorts, where an elder man, someone was interviewing this elder man, and he was talking about how his family, he was born when slavery wasn't a thing anymore, but him and his family didn't know. So they were still on the plantation and everything, like they were slaves, and didn't know that the rest of the world had evolved and they was dealing with racism, but they weren't quote unquote slaves anymore. And he talked about it and discussed his feelings towards that. So this story is basically about that. It says based on true events, so somebody read something similar. A lot of this was going on in deep in the South. So Alice was what they were called a house slave while there were field slaves, and they always had visions that I wonder what's out there. And there were talks that her grandfather had seen a man fly from the sky that gave him this lighter, but they didn't know what it was, but it's a lighter. But they pretty much disciplined the grandfather so he couldn't tell the rest of the people to inspire them pretty much. And so if you basically the enslaved mind frame, if you keep people down, keep them believing a certain thing, they're never going to think to grow. So I guess it's using that logic. Meanwhile, she married a man on a plantation. Of course, the slave owner, Paul, played by Johnny Lee Miller, he would play the role of any slave master in any other movie that you've seen. So they take the position, we feeding you people, and they look at them as domestic and all types of stuff. The stuff that'll piss you off in any other slave movie. So you're seeing that, and Paul had a wife. She divorced him. They had a son. He was raising the son to be just like him with that behavior. Meanwhile, he had a mom. And the mom is like older, and she know that they're really free, and she pretty much looked off in like the distance of the house, like if she was looking out to the road and basically saying to them, don't y'all see? Like, but she's not telling them, but she's saying, don't y'all see? Like, it's freedom beyond the trees. And so Alice snuck in her room in the middle of the night And she just pretty much told her, it's, you know, in so many words, you need to get past the trees and see what's out there. So Alice and her husband devised a plan that they will run for freedom. He was unsuccessful. He got shot in the process, and they end up dragging him back. At the time, you think he's dead. So Alice is upset. She lunges at Paul. Paul end up pitting her, tying her up to basically put fear in the rest of the slaves' mind. If you disrespect or try to run, this is what will happen to you. So at that point, he went to give her some water with a glass. She took the glass and busted him inside the head. He began to fight with her. She took the glass and stabbed him in the eye. Meanwhile, she ran. She kept running. She kept running. But she didn't. Of course, she don't know where she going because it's just nothing but trees. But she didn't give up. She kept running. Eventually, she came out to a highway. Now, at this point, if you didn't know what was happening in the previews in the trailer, you would just, if you just seen the movie, you'd be like, oh, man. So to her shock, she's out to a highway, cars is running, and she don't know what she's seeing. And then this truck comes, and then she's standing there looking dead at the truck, and the truck stopped, and she passed out. In walks the character Frank, played by Common, grabs her, put her in the car, and when she comes to, he's basically, you know, he's jamming his music, and this is in a whole new world. So she starts screaming like, how did you get free? And he like, what are you talking about? So he takes her to the hospital, said, you need help. The hospital was very sent her off to like the psychiatric hospital. So he went back and told her, yo, we need to get out of here because they're not going to do you right. So he pretty much ended up bringing her back to his home and letting her stay there. And as she read a lot of books, she watched TV. She quickly, because she was in the house, she was a house slave, so she was taught how to read. So she could read, and she got to read how they were free by Abraham Lincoln. And basically, she got caught up to speed real fast. She was seeing magazines of black people. She watched, what's her name? Pam Grier with the Foxy Brown stuff. And that just took her mind, exploded to a whole nother place. So she had the mind frame to look up. Once she learned about the phone, how to use the phone, she called Paul Bennett's, which was the slave owner, his ex-wife, called her and pretty much told her she wanted to see her. They met at a restaurant, and then she was pretty much, Alice, I'm surprised to see you. And basically, she still had that mind frame of like this Southern slave stuff and wasn't embracing that people are equal to you. And she started talking, and Alice just went off and basically said, I wasn't here to let you speak. I was here to just let you know how I felt. And she ended up smacking her. And then Frank pretty much told her, hey, you can't do that. You get in trouble. So she said, I got to free my people. So Frank was like, I can't do that. You know, you shouldn't do that. She like, nah, I got to. And so she's like, well, what plan do you got? He's like, you can go about it another way. So he got some guns, and he kind of backed out because he had fought with the Panthers, and he watched the leaders get locked up or go to jail or killed. His mom was put in a psychiatric place, and she died. So he was done fighting. It broke him. So he backed out, but then at the last minute he came through. They devised a plan pretty much that they would set fire to the driveway of the plantation that led out to the highway and everything, and caused commotion. He showed up. She got her Foxy Brown outfit on, and Keke Palmer, she got some movies ahead of her. She got that scary movie coming with Jordan Peele this summer. So she's a real good actress, and it'd be nice to see her in more roles, more leading roles. It seems like she's still up and coming, but she's been around for a while. So I believe she gonna eventually make her mark, because she definitely can she can act. Nevertheless, back to the movie. She said they set everything on fire. The people who thought they were enslaved, her family, was still there, and they rushed out like they were getting ready to help put the fire out. Meanwhile, she pulled up in a truck with Frank, and this is where she approached Paul, his henchman. Frank got out, put the shotgun to him, and Alice took Paul upstairs, shot him twice. She didn't kill him, she just tied him up. Then you got to see her husband. When he was all drug out by the henchman, he wasn't dead. So you got to see that the husband was still alive. Then the police and the firemen came on the plantation, and that's how the movie ends. So it wasn't, I guess the budget didn't allow it to be long and more detailed. It was a short film, straight to the point, not too much dialogue, not too much action on either side. But overall, decent enough to watch. But if you're tired of slave movies and anything about a slave movie, I definitely understand if you just say I pass. Because that's how I was too, until it looked like there was going to be some good get back. So I didn't mind watching that or whatever. It wasn't too much get back, but she did go back and get her family. So nevertheless, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.